What's up, everybody? I'm Greg Miller. Robert Siwiak is here to tell me all about Lara Croft and the Temple of Osiris and why couch co-op is back and better than ever. But first, oh my God, ladies and gentlemen, there's a Suicide Squad cast, and Apple has some kind of anti-gravity stuff that they're gonna put in their phones. This is Up at Noon. It's the news you care about with your normal panel of experts. My Italian meatball, Brian Altano.
Bruh, bruh.
Over there, the producer/seducer, Nick Scarpino.
Hello.
You need a catchphrase bad.
Every time I try to think of one, then he goes brap brap, and I'm like, it's not as good. As
Catchphrase killer. Wait, so you just go,
Brap,
hello?
Hello.
He's the
ego of the group. he doesn't need any crazy stuff.
Tell him about the Twinkie.
There you go.
What about the Twinkie?
Top story this week, ladies and gentlemen. The Suicide Squad has been cast. It's the Suicide Squad movie. Here it is. Well, I'll give you the ones. We know about this.
Yeah.
Jared Leto, Joker.
We did not know about this until this week, though, right? It was a rumor up until yesterday.
Well, the
Yes.
rumor was Jared Leto's Joker. Yeah.
Right.
Now it's confirmed.
Confirmed.
So Jared Leto's Joker. Give me your temperature on that immediately.
100%.
Great.
It's hot as fire.
Yeah,
Hot
that's
as
great.
fire.
That's awesome.
Since I was a big fan of My So-Called Life, and I feel like I haven't moved up or down since then. Requiem for a Dream was fine. And then I just found out yesterday he's a musician.
Yeah, yeah.
Thursday
And missed
yes.
that part.
Yeah.
I guess the
A
last
lot of
30
people
years.
missed that
was
part,
like-
sadly. I don't think
Yeah,
I don't think I ever
he's
engaged.
handsome. He's a millionaire. He's a great actor. He's a great musician.
Yeah.
That guy.
If you think he can't do anything, just go watch Dallas Buyers Club. And if you haven't seen that movie
I haven't
already,
seen that one yet.
Watch it. He is phenomenal in that.
He
got an
basically
Academy Award
plays
for it. It's awesome.
the Joker in that movie.
Wow, I'm not going to touch that one
Okay,
with a
that's
10-foot
fine.
pole. But I think bringing the
haven't
Joker
seen
back is really, 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 really tough. But I think he can do it.
Okay.
See, I feel like a few years ago, and this is a long time ago now, but when we first heard about the Heath Ledger news, we all got mad, and he spun that around.
Sure. Well, we were all thinking Heath Ledger Knight's Tale.
Right.
We didn't know what he was going to do
Sure,
with the character.
100%. But I
Yeah.
feel like
Such a good movie.
ever
Nice, yeah.
since then, I can't doubt any casting for somebody like the Joker, because
Sure.
I feel like.
Sorry. You
No, yeah, putting an unconventional person there is a great idea. I feel like the most obvious choice is probably not the right one.
Right. What's fascinating for me is that what kind of Joker is he going to play? Is he
Yeah.
going to be super dark and not very like laughy like Heath Ledger's Joker, or is he going to be crazy like Arkham Asylum's Joker, or is he going to be Cesar Romero like super? Fun?
So it's weird that you said that, because the second I
that's a good
saw
reference.
that, I pictured like a sort of a hybrid between the Cesar Romero and the Jack Nicholson versions of
right, I
Joker.
love Jack Nicholson.
But he's dressed up so I feel like Heath Ledger's Joker dressed like he was from a pawn shop.
Yeah.
And I feel like Cesar Romero was dressing like he was going to like the nicest night in the town, and so did Jack Nicholson's Joker. So I
Yeah.
think we're gonna get a little bit of version of that.
Okay.
With there'll always be dabs of Ledger, I think, forever. He kind of just
He set the tone as far as like what real psychotic can look like.
Yeah.
Where like that he took it out of the comic book realm and really went to this feels dangerous. This feels like this guy's a psychopath.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think Leto's going to have a lot of touches of that. I think he's going to be, for lack of a better reference, did you guys see the remake of The Dark Knight Returns, the two-part animated series?
Yes.
Yes.
When you see the Joker the first time in that, right, where he's just catatonic the entire time,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
he sees Batman, and he's clip, and he starts to smile a little bit.
Yeah.
That's what I think Leto's going to go for. That sort of just caged psycho.
That makes sense. It's all happening in the Batman v Superman world.
Yeah.
They're kind of trying to get Jesse Eisenberg in this. Rumors say.
So is the Joker this movie's villain?
Well, no. These are all villains. That's
Yeah.
the whole thing of the Suicide Squad. So that's the big question. People were getting on my case yesterday. I'm a big DC fan, if you didn't know, tweeting at me about like, oh, it's weird that he's in this. He's not usually in the Suicide Squad. But he's not necessarily in the Suicide Squad. They just put out the Assault on Arkham animated movie. He was in that, but he wasn't part of the Suicide Squad. He can just be there because, of course, Margot Robbie's playing Harley Quinn. So Harley Quinn, a character from the Suicide, usually from the
She will
Suicide
be
Squad.
a main character in the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's definitely gonna be a main Suicide Squad.
Along with Will Smith.
Yeah, Deadshot.
Who will be Deadshot.
That seemed out of
Which
the
is
blue, and
out
when they
of
didn't make a
nowhere.
big deal about that, when that wasn't the headline, I was like, what?
I guess casting the Joker again is the bigger news,
Yeah.
but the fact that Will Smith is actually coming in. Now, it's hard to say that he's playing a bad guy, right? Because Deadshot is a bad guy, but depending on the story, like if you watch Batman Assault on Arkham, Deadshot was actually the main character in that and actually the protagonist of the story.
Yeah.
Right.
So even though he was a bad guy, he was pit up against other even more bad people like
Sure.
Amanda Waller, and that makes him the good guy. It's very confusing, which is why I'm very much looking in.
Well, that's why
looking
it's
forward
an
to this
interesting
one.
flick,
Yeah,
right? It's a
gonna
whole
be
bunch
cool.
as a cast. Another interesting casting choice here. Tom Hardy's back. Bane, of course. Now he's going to be in here as
gonna
Rick
do it.
Flag.
I'm not gonna do it for you.
Don't do it.
Okay.
Well, I was arguing with the news guys the other day, like, oh, this is totally going to be distracting. People are going to. I'm like, nobody knows what the Tom Hardy looks like. If you only watch Dark Knight Rises,
right?
Yeah, he's covered up and muffled the entire time.
I'm hungry.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think I sort of see their point though. I sort of see their point.
I don't think it's gonna be that big of a deal. If it wasn't for Inception, I wouldn't really know what Tom Hardy with hair looks like.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's crazy though, because every time you see Tom Hardy, like if he's in a movie called Bronson, and it's amazing, and you would not recognize him. He's bald, totally. He's jacked out, and he's got a mustache, and he just plays another psychopath. So I think he's going to be great. I think you're treating the papers like we're going to go on, but I think we got to talk about the rumors of Oprah Winfrey.
That was the last one I wanted to bring up. Yeah, Oprah Winfrey is rumored to be Amanda Waller in this. She's the top of the casting list apparently. She hasn't been signed yet. But she could be on.
Awesome.
That's insane.
What's weird to me is this. When you said that, I'm like, that could be really cool. But my brain instantly went to one actress who I'm pretty sure, and then I looked it up, and now I'm positive, actually voices Amanda Waller in all of the DC comics.
Yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about.
CCH Pounder is her name.
Right.
CCH stands for a long first name.
You know her, of course, from Sons of Anarchy. She was the district attorney on that one?
Yes.
She's in everything. And you hear that voice and you see that image, and you're like, that could be her. Why not just cast her? So that's my question. I'm rallying behind her.
Oprah's a bigger draw, man.
But you think
Oprah's a huge draw, but
this
woman actually nails the character with her voice, so why not just put her in a movie?
Yeah, but you figure they're trying to break out of that stuff with the DC universe, right? It's confusing to have an animated universe, a TV universe, and a movie universe, so it's going to get confusing if you start bringing over the same people and having them doing the same thing.
Sure, but
I like the Amanda Waller and Arrow a lot.
Oh, is there a man? I didn't know there was a Amanda Waller.
God, catch up on this show.
I caught up on S.H.I.E.L.D. That's as best as I can do. Arrow, I can't get into it.
The S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Get out of here.
No, I've seen the S.H.I.E.L.D. That's
that's a great show.
If only they'd bring that back in HD.
Don't
spoil the next
Don't skip
topic.
to the next topic.
No, she's awesome. And here's my problem, though. Is like the animated movies are always so great, right?
Yeah, they're amazing.
So why not take flares of that and put them into the live action?
They
What's
would. I
wrong
mean,
with that?
these characters are going to be in the same vein of those characters, I imagine.
I think she'd nail it.
I think she would too.
be
She's an amazing actress. We love you, Cece. I'm not trying to take the bread from your children's mouths. I'm just saying, give somebody another shot. Like Chicago's own Oprah Winfrey.
This is the bane of the, or no pun intended, the bane of the comic book nerds world, right? Is that they're constantly like, well, this is right over here. Why don't you make it right over here? The way you did it like this. It's like, and for someone like me who doesn't know a lot about the Suicide Squad, I just want to go there opening weekend, sit down and see a movie the same way I saw Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm like, I don't know much about this. I'm going to sit down and be entertained because I'm not going in there with any preconceived notions about who should play who should be doing what. Oh, you screwed up his face mask, or his gloves a different color, like all that shit. I don't care about all that stuff.
Look, I mean,
I just want to be entertained.
Far be it for me to judge the choices of people that are working on like $100 million or $200 million movies, but I will say, Oprah is a phenomenal talent. She's a phenomenal person. I don't know if she's going to go in with the same level of like knowledge of that character as someone like CCH Pounder, who has physically played that character like 30 times already. You know.
Sure.
It's there's pros and cons. Is what I'm saying.
Exactly.
I don't know why I'm rallying so hard for this person I've ever met. I really think she's.
I love when you see really weird casting in Hollywood. I love when there's a character who's completely out of nowhere and you're like, wait, what? It doesn't make any sense, but it works. Like it's great to me. Like, has anyone seen the movie Tusk?
No.
No.
Do you know Johnny Depp's in that movie?
I did not. Thanks for that.
I know Harley from Epic Mealtimes in it.
He is. Shout out to Harley.
That's a funny scene, actually.
All right, next up here on the news you care about, HBO is going to remaster The Wire. All 60 episodes will be remastered in 16:9 full-frame HD from the original 4:3.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah,
Nick, you've seen the show.
No, I don't think it's going to be. Here's my question with it is how are they doing that? Because when you shoot something in 4:3 and then you can't go back. You framed every shot for something that's 4:3, and when you add the extra, vertical or I guess horizontality of it, where does that go?
Right.
So you're going to be looking at
pan
poorly,
and scan and all this crap.
Either pan and scan, or maybe they're taking the master and they're cropping down from there. I don't know what they're going to do, but either way, and the show's creator himself even came out and said, I don't know how we're going to do this because some of the shots are going to look better, but most of them are just going to be really weird. And
David Simon wrote a blog post saying this. He says some things are going to look better, but then he goes, and even with our best resizing, touch-ups, and maneuver, there are some things that are simply not as good. Yeah. That's the inevitability. This new version, after all, exists in an aspect ratio that simply wasn't intended or serviced for by the filmmakers. Yeah. So my question, you yesed it. You've been one of the people always yelling at me to watch The Wire.
Yeah, no,
it's
my favorite show of all time.
Are you worried about this? This strikes me as the whole Jurassic Park thing, right? Like you got so hung up on if you could, you didn't ask if you should.
Yes, yeah. No, so I feel like
it's a great reference. Thank you for that.
We're in this day and age now where
you went French fries. I stayed potato.
Okay, Jesus. I hear that all the time.
This is more Julian.
We're in this day and age now where I feel like people are so spoiled by the way they consume media that I don't know if a lot of people watch things with subtitles. They don't watch things where the bars are cut off on the side. Like a lot of people just look at something like that and they go, "Oh, this is ugly and old. I don't need to do this."
Yeah.
And because of that, a great show like The Wire is going to be ignored forever. Now, I wish I could strangle everyone across the world and just be like, "Watch this. It looks good," even though it's only in a square instead of a rectangle.
Yeah.
But I can't. So if this is the next best thing to get people to watch it, and it looks a little weird, it might look weird to people like us because we've seen the original show a bunch. But for somebody who's never seen it before, maybe it won't be too distracting.
It's 100% true. The first time I started watching it I watched it with my wife, and what's the first thing she said? Why are those bars in this?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I do hate going back.
I
and seeing
get that,
4x3.
and you're absolutely right. Now that I'm thinking more and more about it, as long as it fills the frame, at least that won't distract. And the storytelling really is the character arcs and storytelling really is the power of that show.
Yeah.
Not necessarily it's not an action show.
No, it's not.
You're really
There
just sitting watching really good actors act.
There's a fact that I believe a cop has only fired a gun on that show once.
Is that real?
And,
Is that true?
It was by accident indoors. And no one is. And there was never like chase him down, pop, pop, pop. Like that. You don't. There's not a lot of high speed chases.
They're not Starsky and Hutching this.
No, not at all. There's no cars that like jump over volcanoes.
I wish
or
they
anything.
were. What if they added that back in, like Lucas style?
Hey, they got on that extra room on the side.
Everyone's like firing at
They
each
can
other.
put
They take out
plates.
his shot. They take out the gun and put in a Roman candle that went off accidentally.
So I think a lot of us are thinking about it. Like, you remember when games came out on Xbox 360, like old arcade games, and they put those ugly borders on the side.
Yeah.
Like you play like Ninja Turtles, the arcade, and there'd be like a picture of Michelangelo on the side eating the pizza the whole time. He's like cowabunga, and it was like really distracting.
Yeah.
Why is that there?
Yeah, and you're like, why is that there? I think people are worried about it like that. But I mean, I think they can find a solution for this, and if not, I'll just keep watching the originals.
That's true.
Shout out to Seinfeld. When Seinfeld filmed, they were smart enough to film in widescreen.
Yeah.
And then
really?
it always
I didn't know
aired in 4x3, but then when they were like, oh, DVDs are a big thing now, like, here you go.
Wow, he's got extra rooms in his apartment I've never seen.
I can see the
All
gaffer
those
tape.
pairs of jeans he's got just laying around
His
everywhere.
cereal goes on for 75 boxes.
Final story in the news you care about this week. It's a short one because it's all hearsay and whatnot, but Apple has filed a patent for anti-falling phone tech. This would basically be something inside your phone that when you drop your phone, the phone would know it was falling, change its center of gravity, and rotate in a way that would hit and not break. It'd be like a cat.
Like a cat.
Like a
Falling
cat.
on
There's a cat inside it.
Yeah.
or his paws.
This is an interesting move for Apple because this
that
goes
how cats
against everything that they stand for when it comes to making you buy a new phone every year.
Yeah,
Like this keeps your phone alive longer.
Yeah.
And usually they're just like, it's time.
Well,
Get a
no,
new one.
they'll add things to it every year to make me. It's still got the anti-gravity device in it, but now it also can check your blood pressure.
Yep.
I mean,
You like that? You want to
that
health
was
nut?
I would actually. I love getting my blood pressure checked every time I go to the doctor's office. I'm like, is it perfect? It's perfect.
Is it perfect?
Yeah, I have really good blood pressure, which is surprising because I treat my body like a jungle gym.
That's what
No, you
that's why the
don't.
blood pressure thing. Heads up, doctors. It's a bunch of bullshit. Like
Yeah.
I
eat
eat
a
like
lot of
I
salt.
eat garbage. Yeah, and I go in there like, oh, you're great. I'm like, thanks.
Yeah.
What is it? I'm just gonna die one day.
I
You
feel
know
like
what's going on, right?
I'm always really like stressed when I go to the doctor just because I never know if they're gonna walk in and be like, hey, you have everything.
Your feet are falling off. You've got everything.
It's over.
It's like Santa with like the naughty list. It's just this giant
It's
ream
like,
of
yeah, we
paper.
checked your
Why
thing.
don't
We
you
have
read
all
through
you have
this?
all of it.
Check boxes next
they're
to
always
everything.
they're always like, yours is a little high, but you're probably nervous. What did you eat this morning? And I'm like, I had no breakfast because of I was going to the doctor and I didn't want to mess up your tests. So yeah, this new phone sounds really good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm for it. Sure, is it going to help me when I rage mode out and throw my phone
It
across
can't
the...
be real.
No.
It's a patent. Sony's always patenting controllers that break in half and you wear in your face. This one's this can't. They're not gonna put this.
Wait,
in
do you
there.
still throw your phone out of rage?
I try not to because the damn thing costs so much, but I do have this fancy case on it. It's carbon fiber.
So
It's not a big deal.
back when phones were like $9, you could get in an argument with someone on the phone, like a telemarketer or an ex-girlfriend, and
hurl
take
that
your
thing.
phone and just hurl it across the room.
Or just smash it
And
into
it
the
just
desk. It just explodes.
Yeah, it was great. Did you ever see what was it? 8 Heads in a Duffel Bag, where
Yes,
Joe
I
Pesci
have
walks around
seen
that movie just taking payphones and destroying them? That movie would be totally expensive if he did that with 9 iPhones.
Yeah, that would be ridiculous. You'd be up to like 50 grand pretty quick.
Exactly. 50 grand. There's weird math there.
I can't do math. I failed. I was a creative in high school. I was in theater.
Yeah, so you gotta be careful with your phone now.
Speaking of Nick getting mad and throwing things, Gregway, Nick sucks at video games, so when he plays them with me, he throws the controller all the time. That's why we're excited to be playing Lara Croft and the Temple of Osiris. It's his multiplayer game, and my good friend Robert's here to tell me all about it. As I live and breathe, Robert Siwiak, how are you doing?
Doing great.
Thank you for coming. Here, Lara Croft, the Temple of Osiris. Talk to me. Were you guys expecting such a reaction when you announced that it was an Xbox One exclusive?
Well, Temple of Osiris is actually coming out on PC, Xbox One, and PlayStation 4.
I was making a Rise of Tomb Raider joke.
Yes.
Thanks for rolling with it. Jeez, Louise. No, super excited for this one. Obviously, it's the follow-up to Lara Croft, The Guardian of Light.
Right.
Which caught everybody off. That was a game that caught everybody off guard, I felt like.
Definitely. I mean, it came out back in 2010.
Yeah.
And it kind of came out of left field. There weren't a lot of fans that knew what to expect with that game.
Sure.
But after 4 years, you look at the fans, you look at the forums and everything, and everybody started asking, when's the next Lara Croft game coming out? And then with the Tomb Raider reboot the other year, those comments even got louder. Everybody was wanting to bring back that classic Croft, so we were happy to oblige. Yeah,
I mean, that's the thing, right? The reboot, sure. She looks great. She's got the hair now in the definitive edition.
But she has no short shorts.
She doesn't have the short shorts. She doesn't have the guns. She isn't wearing her signature, the signature tank top.
Exactly.
I'm glad that Lara lives on. Very much like Superman with his red underwear.
Yes.
They can try to reboot the universes as much as they want. That's going to be Superman the rest of our life.
Yes.
All right, cool. You told me that Brian and Greg look lonely here on the desk and that you were bringing me something.
Yes. So actually we have our little 3-inch Lara figurine there.
Very nice.
So yeah, she comes with the gold edition of the game. So just like Guardian of Light, I mean, you could get the game digitally. So we have it coming out on Tuesday, December 9th for Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC. For $19.99, but then we also have the gold edition of the game. It actually has our little Lara in there, and then a map of the entire game world in there, an art book, and season pass, and some pretty cool stuff.
So take me back to when you guys first start talking about doing this, in Guardian of Light, and then obviously into Temple. Was everyone on board from the get-go to take Lara Croft, take Tomb Raider, and put it into this brand new direction in a way, right? To take it, as we think of, I mentioned Superman earlier, take it as a license that's bigger than what people know it as. Was everybody gung-ho on that, or was people gun-shy about it?
Well, I mean, Lara's been around for, 20 years at this point?
Yeah.
And she still has so many stories to tell, and this was just a great opportunity to take that into a different direction. And it's also the first time and the only place that you could really play a Tomb Raider game with Lara as well as other characters in there in a co-op setting.
Sure.
And Guardian, one of the things that everybody responded well to was playing the game in co-op, and that's why this time around it was an easy extension to go, all right, 2 players, not enough. Let's go at 4 players this time around, and get that adventure going. So,
and you decided that the adventure needed to be balls-ass crazy and have a bunch of Egyptian gods come back from the dead, and we needed to play as them.
Yes. Well, that's the beauty of it too. You got the new Tomb Raider, and it takes a more serious tone.
Yeah.
And then we have our classic Croft franchise over here, and that one, anything goes. We could be battling 50-foot scarabs, and fighting across ancient Egypt with Egyptian characters, who are from that time. So this is Tomb Raider where everything is about the fun. It's about playing on the couch with your friends and having a good time.
Was adding those characters your way of all right, we can break down all these walls. We can have crazy characters. We can have crazy environments. We can do things that we couldn't do the first time around.
Well, I mean, with the classic Tomb Raider franchise, there was always a little bit more of that supernatural element in it, if
dinosaurs.
you will. Remember. Yes, exactly. Guardian of Light also had dinosaurs in it as well. But after we were wrapping up Guardian of Light, we were trying to think, well, what would be a perfect setting that we can go back to? The fans were saying, Lara hasn't been back to Egypt in a while.
Yeah.
And so we started looking at all the different Egyptian myths and everything, and became very clear, we have this prophecy of Osiris, this good king whose brother hacked him up into multiple pieces, and it's that's a great collection mechanic. Let's hide up his pieces throughout all these tombs, and then the characters just kind of fell into place. Oh, Osiris had a wife and a son. Let's make them the playable characters. They're going to help you on the quest.
Sure.
So all these sort of elements just started falling into place, and now Lara's actually fulfilling this actual myth that you can look up online and play against these actual Egyptian gods that, again, are just pulled straight from the mythology.
I mean, when you guys are setting out to make a game like this, how important is the story, right? Especially when you're talking about co-op. It's 4-player co-op, because you're going to play it at a party. People are going to skip through the cutscenes, not care what Osiris is talking about or anything like that. Yeah. I'm assuming for fans like me who want to get the platinum trophy, get every trophy achievement in the game, that you need to go in there and put in lore and put all these different things. How do you balance the gameplay and then the story?
Well, I mean, the beautiful thing about it is it's a game that you could play in anywhere from 1, 2, 3, or 4 players. So you could go through the entire adventure just playing as Lara, where you could absorb the story and all the elements there, take your time exploring the world without, anybody who's played a co-op game. It's like story, we're skipping all the cutscenes, rocket launch, next thing you know, it's chaos, right? So it's actually great that the game kind of accommodates both of those spectrums of it, where you could play with the 4 players. And we spent a lot of time also making sure that, depending on how many people you're playing with, all the elements for the puzzles and everything, the combat, it all scales up. So we're really trying to cater to the entire audience here. People that want to play the single player and just want to experience that story on their own time versus those guys that, want to grab 3 more buddies either online or on the couch and, let's go do this. So
outside of adding 2 more players, which is cool, what's the coolest thing, what's the coolest new thing for Temple of Osiris?
There's a lot of, the fans from the last game, they really enjoyed the puzzles that we worked in there. And the Egyptian backdrop and everything that we have here, it allowed us this, setting so that we could put in all these, classic ancient Egyptian sort of puzzles. So like turning around mirrors and stuff and reflecting light beams off of it. The world also this time around is completely seamless. Guardian of Light was one of those classic mission select sort of games where it's a linear experience. This time you actually explore an overworld, all the tombs are connected to it, there's no load times between it all. So there's a lot more replayability this time around. We also expanded on the inventory system, so you've got somewhere between like 200 something different types of rings and amulets, all in a tiered, common to legendary system there. So there's a lot more replayability in the mix. And then the other cool thing is we actually have different weather states in the game. So I guess I am kind of spoiling everything, but as you
don't
go,
tell us, I don't want to know if there's snow, I don't know if it's fog, maybe some rain.
2 out of 3.
Okay, woo, damn. Now you have something to add to the next sequel.
There you go. There will be, yes, fog in that one.
You keep talking about, you listen to the fans, and that, all these people were wanting this after they played Guardian of Light. Did you, I guess Crystal Dynamics, did they expect this? Did you think that this was something you're making that is going to be something you can make over and over again, or was that just something to make at that time and see what happens?
Not initially. It was pretty experimental with that first game. It came out, the reviews for it were good, fans were playing it and everything, but we didn't really know if this was going to be that multi-title franchise that would be spinning off there. And then, of course, got distracted by that game called Tomb Raider.
Yeah,
again, it was at that time. It was just we were actually surprised at the number of people that were kind of asking for that follow-up there and that wanting that experience there. So yeah, it did catch us a little bit off guard.
Yeah.
Like how many fans were actually saying they want more of this, and like I said, we were happy to oblige.
So then, how does Crystal Dynamics worry about that as a developer, right? Like you're saying, we're going to see what happens with this, but then we do have the AAA Lara Croft to worry about in Tomb Raider. Are there 2 teams? Do people go back and forth?
It's a little bit of going back and forth there.
Yeah.
It's a great big family that's working, primarily on the Tomb Raider franchise. A lot of the people that worked on Guardian of Light did go on and wind up working on the Tomb Raider game.
Sure.
And then we actually brought some of those guys back, the same people who worked on Guardian of Light, and mixed in some new developers that joined Crystal over the past 4 years here. And so we had that nice mix of the veterans as well as the new guys, and we just split a small team off in order to focus on this one and ran it parallel with what we have coming up next.
So the question is now, when you guys sit around in your conference meetings and you're smoking your cigars and you're looking at the numbers.
And we're drinking our fine scotch.
Exactly,
as well,
yes. And your snifters,
yes.
And you're looking at the numbers and Guardian of Light and all these different things. Do you take credit for next gen? Because I have this theory, and now it's current gen, so it gets really confusing to talk about.
Sure.
But when we started going into next gen, now current gen, we talked about the fact that multiplayer, cooperative multiplayer, that's going to be the real thing for next gen. That's the first feature everybody's pushing, right? And of course, every game is that now. You play online, you do this, you have your own drive club, you have your own team, you go do this, blah, 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 blah. You guys were there first. You were the ones leading the charge for couch co-op and bringing it back with Guardian. Now you're here and you're like, we made this.
Right, let's refine that formula.
Exactly.
Let's take it that next step further. So. I think one of the great things that we have with the game is, we also had Tomb Raider Definitive Edition come out. And that was one of those first games that was coming out when the new consoles were coming out as well. And I think it pushed the boundaries in terms of visual quality and everything like that, brought a great story, and it pushed it to next gen.
Sure.
And this time around with, Temple of Osiris, you could expect the same thing. It's a gorgeous game. Where usually when you're making an isometric game, you're afraid to take the camera in close, because it's like, okay, you're going to see all the bad textures and everything. No, this is a beautiful looking, we try to find, cinematics that we could push in close on the characters. Spent a lot of time creating little costumes for them as well, like Deus Ex costumes and Hitman costumes, and it's a visually stunning game. I think especially compared to a lot of the other co-op games that are coming out with the current generation. And
so final question, as a developer, why is online co-op play, even couch co-op,
Sure.
making such a resurgence right now? Why is that the thing everybody seems to be talking about?
I mean, it's a good question. I'm sure there's a lot of different points of view, but you know, I was one of those guys that grew up playing in the arcades. You know, your Ninja Turtle games, etc. Smash TV. You know, all those top-down shooters and the like. And you know, it's like we went for the last half of the last generation with a lot of games that were more focused on it's competitive multiplayer. You know, let's see how many people that we could squeeze into it. Let's make 32, 64-player things, etc.
Well, don't forget MAG, 128 players. Holy cow!
And then on top of that, you never wanted to play the thing, even if they had couch co-op. It's like, oh, it's split screen. It's like, dude, I don't want you. Go get your own copy of the game. Whereas fitting everybody back in on the same screen, etc. I mean, that's the perfect way to play a couch co-op game, where you're not competing for that space. You're all playing in that same space together. And I think our industry, it goes in cycles, right?
Yeah.
RTS games died off 10 years ago. Now they're slowly starting to make their way back. And same thing with couch co-op games. We went a little while. We had the party games, especially on the Wii and everything. And then it kind of dulled down, and it's like now's a fresh time to bring that back, to get your buddies back on the couch together or playing online with them. Yeah. Couch is more fun. You can punch them though.
Exactly. You get to yell at each other. I can't believe you missed that.
Yelling at people in person. That's something that this anonymous yelling at people over the internet. I mean, that's
the mom joke will always mean more when you know the guy's mom. That's
true.
That's all it is. Robert, thank you so much for coming by.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Lara Croft, Temple of Osiris comes out Tuesday, tomorrow.
Yes.
And if you're watching Up at Noon in a timely fashion, if you're not, then it's probably out, and you can go get it.
Yep.
Thank you, man.
My pleasure.
That's our show, everybody. Thank you to Robert, Brian, Nick, and of course you, my viewer. Keep on viewing Up at Noon and share it with your friends so this show gets bigger and better and eventually gets to TV and we all make $1 million and everybody's super happy with what we did here for the last 3 years. Remember, Lara Croft and the Temple of Osiris is out right now. Probably, I doubt you're watching this on Monday unless you're really dedicated, so go give it a try and tell me what you think in the comments below. Then make sure you come back next Monday at noon for a brand new episode, but until then, I'm going back to bed. DaveFenoy.com.